my name is Rajib Chowdhury. I'm a gamification evangelist and a founder of a very interesting company called the Gamification Company. I'm an executive coach. I'm a certified cafe style facilitator, and neuroscience of play is an area of passion, and that's the area that I work with. I work with a lot of organizations. My organization does that. We create products. We do consulting in the space of neuroscience of play and gamification-led products and solutions. The idea is, how do you use those fun elements to solve real-world problems? So that's me, and that's my passion space.
Okay, I'm Sudip. I have a long experience in the corporate in the IT and digital. Currently, I'm the head of digital for manufacturing businesses, as well as some special projects like high-speed railways, etc., which is first time in India for Larsen & Toubro, which is one of the Indian best-known conglomerates. And I've got 28 years of experience and a dozen of years outside. So I always say that, when I speak, possibly some of the times I'll be bringing in some of the values that I've got from outside as well. Outside means outside India. And some of the times I'll mix and match them, and which I do actually in my daily life to foster or to enhance various corporate goals, my business goals, etc. Yeah, that's it from my side.
It's the project that I've done with you guys, where we thought about and where we actually bought in gamification in a conventional brick and mortar organization such as yours. That was the first for us, and the entire journey. And I thought that's a very, very interesting journey that we went through. Highly successful. We've had massive learnings from there. And I kind of recommended that why don't we actually have a chat about this, because there's a lot to learn from that project itself and from what we did in that particular piece of work.
That'd be fantastic. I think, I anyway love to talk about first-hand experience because it's always authentic, right? And the one that you are talking about, very close to my heart. I've been in the TEDx on that, and amazing experience. Of course, we can chat about it once again to relive our memories,
yes,
and to convey our learnings as well.
Yeah, I think a good start point would be, what actually made you think about gamification? I'll come back and tell you what we felt when you called us, but I'd really like to know what you thought about when you actually first thought that you want to consider gamification and you called us in.
Yeah, thanks very much again. So let's get going on that in that direction. So, it's basically we were in a digital transformation journey. So we wanted to have digitally enabled operation in the company. Remember, the company is, I'm talking about Larsen & Toubro, and our company is a core sector company. It's an old economy company, 80-year-old, more than 80 years old. And in that, the CEO had a vision to take the digital forward, right? He wanted to transform the company as a technology-enabled and technology company, not a manufacturing and construction companies as we are known as. So that's the kind of a vision. So we started our digitalization and digital transformation journey in 2016-17. So that time, obviously, we were in a very roller coaster ride. So we were getting a lot of digital interventions, one after another across our 700 construction sites, tens of manufacturing locations, and everywhere in all corporate operations, corporate functions, etc. So we were going on in that direction. However, at some point in time, I was thinking of, not necessarily the experience was consistent. In some projects, something is going on good. Some projects, something is not going good, right? Some doing well, some doing not well. So thinking of, what can we do more? What could we do more at that point in time? So I was talking to our HR head in one of the business units, or $2 billion business units. And she told me kind of in a conversation that, Sudip, why don't you do some gamification? And that actually, believe me, that gave me a spark, because I have been thinking about gamification possibly last 7-8 years. And then I thought, okay, so since you talked about gamification, let me just take it forward. So that's a kind of a spark during a meeting that I said, it can be applied, because I had that ambition to use gamification as a tool to consistently enhance performance in my area, or my area means digital area, and performance of the company or in a particular function. So I just picked it up at that time, and then I contacted you, if you remember.
Yeah. Right. And I think I can tell you today what our first thoughts were when we got off the call and he said, hey, why don't you guys come in and we'd like to use gamification in our organization. We sat back for a minute and we had a conversation between each other. You see, L&T, transport infrastructure team. These are the guys who are building those elevated highways across the country, and classic brick and mortar. We've done a lot of gamification work in retail work, in call centers, in banking. But brick and mortar, is it really going to work there? Are we overreaching ourselves? These were our first thoughts. And then, of course, we came in to meet you. So that's when you gave us a brief, and that's when we started thinking that, hey, you know what, gamification could be used in this space as well. Because end of the day, when we talk about gamification, it's a human size. It's a human-focused design, and it's essentially humans that we are talking about. I think you'll remember, Sudip, that our initial discussions and sessions and workshops that we spent actually talking about the fact that, hey, gamification is not points, badges, leaderboards, but it's a deeper science and how octalysis comes in, etc. So I was just wondering that when we were taking you through all those sciences about where the neuroscience comes in, how octalysis plays in, and it's beyond points, badges, leaderboards, what were your thoughts?
To be honest, I mean, I had some studies around data, and obviously you went into it quite deeper in terms of those, one, the philosophical angle, and secondly, the scientific angles. But I still remember that meeting where around 10 to 15 people were there from our side, from various business functions as well as IT and digital. And the meeting went on so-called well, and we got a lot of funders in terms of, what is it all about. But I still remember that after a month, you did not talk to us. Probably you thought that, we were not ready. And to be honest, I was also thinking of, with our HR head as well, were we at that point in time in the right direction? I was very confident, to be honest, but at the same time, I was doing some other exercise as well. I might talk about that as just in a minute. But certainly, you did not call us for 4 to 6 weeks. And when I called you first, you said, yeah, we are interested. You came in, but much later, when I actually told you, I asked you actually, why didn't you connect after that? Because I was so eager. You said, you had kind of a thinking around the meeting or about the meeting that we were not interested, or we didn't understand possibly what the theory is all about. So, but I think we could change your perception later on.
I think the project itself was very interesting, considering we were addressing people who were situated in very remote sites, and the biggest challenge was digital adoption. And it started with, I think our journey first started with defining what the outcomes that we wanted. I think if you remember the sessions that we did, where we spent, I think, quite a few sessions talking about what were the key outcomes that we were seeking, which essentially becomes extremely important.
I think let me take that a little bit. I think we learned hugely from you guys how to run this kind of gamification, because we were thinking of, you remember, should we go for cricket, should we go for football, should we go for kabaddi, because at that time those sports were going on. We were thinking of which sport to target so that we can we can be under the skin of our people, right? So that they love it and they actually participate in it. But before that, we talk about the KPIs. We are talking about the KPIs. You actually talked about what are the business goals, business KPIs that we go for. How do we transform or translate them into gaming or a sports KPIs, right? What are the equivalent to that? One of the examples is we obviously go for daily progress. They said, okay, daily progress is like doing runs in the cricket. Yeah, if it is the collection of money from our client, it is like taking wickets from the opposition. So we actually looked at those business KPIs, sports KPIs. We looked at what are the parity, and then we actually started working on. I remember the 35 plus. First we got the KPIs, but then you said that no, it'll not work. But let's look at 4 or 5 max, and then we started with 4. I remember correctly. But you know what? Interestingly, when I went back, or we went back, our team went back to the management one by one. At certain level we started, then we actually went up because we wanted to have more buy-in from because there are ways to do it. Either you go to the top and take a top-down dictation, or you first get the buy-in at certain level of management and then go up, get the upper pyramid completely bought into that idea, and then go to the completely foundation layer of the organization. In fact, I took that route actually. First I went to the senior middle, went to the top, then came back to the foundation. That worked so well because these fundamentals of sports and the game and the fun, basically gamification is the whole process is fun, but the equivalence between the business and the sports KPIs and how to put it in our balance, in our work, and then first get the buy-in from the senior mid-level management, and then go to the top and finally to the board level. I remember that it was so catchy to the the head of that business. He's a board member, and when I told him that I'd like to do it, 2 things. He liked the idea first, and he told me, whose idea is this? In fact, I told him that take the idea first. And we just had fun. And then I told him that, what, I know this is the first time we'll be doing, and I'd like to do it a little economically. He told me, did I talk about it? Did I tell you that I'll not be giving money for this? In fact, he gave me a complete freedom to go ahead with this. The idea was such a powerful idea. Obviously, the challenge was execution.
Yeah, I think it'll be good to, at this point of time, possibly explain as to what was the approach and why gamification would probably work here. Is that, the fundamental objective of gamification is not just fun. And that's something that we established even right at the beginning when we had our discussions. The fundamental objective of gamification is to solve real world problems using the concepts of fun, the concepts of neuroscience, the gamification principles, etc., and of course those game mechanics. But what's very important is that the way gamification works is that it's a human-focused design, right? And if you think about the problem statement that we were addressing, is that the digital adoption is low because there are resistances at different pockets and at different levels, purely either because of tenure or a variety of other reasons. Now, these are what we call as limbic brain responses. What gamification essentially does is that by using those fun techniques and fun methodologies and mechanics, etc., and the neuroscience, it suppresses the limbic brain. And when it suppresses the limbic brain, it activates the prefrontal cortex, which is the portion that sits here. And activating the prefrontal cortex that's the space where absorption, withheld intelligence, engagement, everything sits in. So the primary objective, I think, of gamification has always been to how do you consistently suppress the limbic brain responses and activate the prefrontal cortex and bring about engagement. And those were the principles that we worked with. I think you touched upon the topic of choosing the theme, whether it was kabaddi or soccer or cricket, and even there we thought about it. In fact, we said, let's look at the be level and the do level and the have level. Have is the outcome that we are seeking. Do is, let's say, the gamification that we are inculcating. But what's the belief? How do we address the belief? And now across the country and across different age groups, what could be that one joining factor? And that's when we picked up cricket, because everybody understood cricket. And it was the IPL season, so we picked up the IPL theme. Right?
I mean, named it as TIPL. And so many things that we did at that time, yeah. So let me just pick up a little bit on the execution side as well. So it was, in cricket, one team plays with another. We changed the characteristics of that game a little bit. We said there will be no team will be playing against each, no project will be playing against each other. Each project is a team, but they will be playing against their own target. Their target, all projects have a target. They have a target of project progress. They have got a target of billing. They have a target of collection. They have a target of quality, target of safety. So these are the targets. Every project, they've got their own target. They will be challenging their own targets, and based on that, they will be scoring. So we eliminated inter-project rivalry, but at the same time, we injected the spirit of cricket, as if they are competing against their virtual competition, which is their target. And that's what it happens in the real world, right? And everyone was actually at that time. And that's another important thing. So we started with the digital adoption, right? Where the challenge was. So one is the digital adoption. Second one is how do we get this adoption, but at the same time we will be getting our business goals met. So what we did is these digital solutions that we put in place, which was a little bit inconsistently adopted. So we put that in the front, that if you want to participate in this game, you'll have to plan on the digital solution. You'll have to report on the digital solution. You have to report the safety, the quality, the progress, the updates, everything on the digital solutions. Then you are eligible. And it was taken by the projects like I would say that the spirit was exactly like IPL. We created every team, there was a logo, and we created as if they're the clubs, right? As we do in the IPL. And the project manager used to be the captain of that team. And we also understood that entire project, all project people are extremely loyal to the project manager. So the project manager, the leaderboard should be on the project manager's name in the photograph, so that they personify the project with this project manager, and they show their loyalty to this project and the project manager, and create a very sports-like. That is why the gamification is it was a completely gamified environment at that time. And I remember some of the times that the people adopted so much. At 9:15, at 9 o'clock, by 9 o'clock we used to upload the data, because there's some real time, there's some batch process as well. So 9 o'clock the batch used to run. At 9:15 we used to get call from Kanyakumari, which is down south, say that, sir, my data is not reflecting, so I should be in the leaderboard number 2 or number 1. It's not there. I said, okay, we will do it. Yeah, there must be some technical challenges. So amazingly adopted at that time, the digital, and they were so transparent in terms of their performance. And I remember those, the functional heads, the project manager used to do a lot of communication with them, right? Videos, and then some excerpts we used to take, and we used to put that up to kind of inspire others. So if somebody is laggard, how can they take it up? How can they adopt more into the laggards? But it was amazing experience, no doubt. And most importantly, I would say, apart from the business from our side, inside, but I think your team actually supported with your platform, with the whole concept, with the technicality around it, I think amazingly. I still remember the templates that we used to produce like any other professional templates. That generally internal templates are not that professionally looked, to be honest, but amazingly adopted, because the entire communication was professionalized, as if somebody else from outside. Obviously, you were doing it from outside, but it was a professionalized, so that people could take the essence of it, that this is a very serious stuff going on. And we had some obviously lots of awards and rewards around it. So obviously you suggested all those, and management also took that into our strides, and fantastic. Yeah.
I think you touched upon some very important factors. One being personalization, how it's very important in gamification. Second, the choice of KPIs and how do you score the KPIs. That you spoke about that. That again is a very, very important aspect, because gamification is never necessarily only for your top performers, because then they're already there. It's always for your average and your bottom performers, so that they all have an even playing field and they come up. You also spoke about the fact that our adoption was very largely driven by this entire internal competition, that was the sense of competition that was created. But I think there's one area that I'd like you to talk about, because no amount of gamification strategy can be really successful unless or until it's backed by a very strong communication strategy. And the communication strategy that was built, and especially the launch, I think, Sudip, that was a masterpiece. We actually talk about it with two other clients as to how you, as a client, came up with the thought of how you're going to do the launch and how will you build the spirit, adoption. One was we were looking at adoption of digital as an outcome, but the important thing was also adoption of gamification. How do people actually accept it? And for that to happen, there is a stage one, which is the entire what we call as the pre-game stage, which is the launch and the pre-launch and the excitement that you build around it. That I think I definitely want you to talk about because it was a masterpiece.
I think, thank you very much, Rajib. I think I would say that, I am an experiential learner, and the key thing, if you look at digital innovation, they go hand in hand. I always believe in that. And I am not a person, as a leader also, I will not be doing the same thing in the same way every time. I will do these things, the same thing. Even if I do, I will have a different signature next time. But otherwise, it will be quite boring for the people. They may take it, they may adopt it, but they may not adopt it from their heart, right? So if you look at this, I mean, what we were trying to do, we were trying to make digital more adopted by the business. Number one. Number two, obviously, with the help of that, we were trying to get or be technologically enabled organization, right? Second. Third one is innovation, right? Now, innovation in terms of both. One, technology innovation. Second one is how the entire organization can get the taste of different kinds of technologies which are coming up, right? So remember 2017-18, at that time, VR, AR, all these things were people talked about. Even today also we'll talk about. I mean, it's quite confusing even today, I would say. However, at that time, this was the first program where AR was introduced, augmented reality was introduced. So how it was introduced, I thought that, we discussed around it, and then so that we will be launching with some other technology as a concept, because that technology, the technology does it, people don't understand much. So AR was chosen. And luckily, I got to know some of, from the startup cohorts, one of the guys who actually worked with one of the American multinationals through AR in the IPL for their CEO. And I got hold of them. I said that, what can you do with us, for us? And can you do some kind of the real life stuff that we have done, but we'll be doing it obviously internally. They said, why not, sir? Then I obviously gave the briefing, and they kind of took it. But we did it in our way, because ours are the machines, the construction fields, the materials, etc. Obviously, so we put that AR, and so AR-based launched we did, and we live streamed it on internal Facebook and workplace at that time. And I remember that lots of people came back to me saying that, how did it happen? How did you do? Because the AR was not very understood at that point in time. I think this is the one project that took a lot of people took a lot of interest in this kind of technology. That innovation, technology, adoption, everything was kind of bundled together. And we felt really proud at that point in time that, not only we are introducing a concept with the existing technology, but we're also introducing a technology which is not understood too much, which is a kind of still there is a good innovation quotient with the augmented reality. Later on, actually, in the company, on the basis of that, we put augmented reality at every site in the safety.
Yeah, so I think it was an absolutely fantastic launch. So if you think about it from a execution strategy perspective, we had a great comms plan in terms of a pre-game launch plan that we had. Then for the game itself, we did a lot of personalization work where we gave people time to come up with their own logos and slogans and team names, etc., etc. And then, of course, was the scoring, and we kept it simple. We had limited number of KPIs so that people could understand, and we looked at very, very clearly the KPIs that would have a larger impact. Then came the game by itself, and you spoke about it, how people actually got excited and they would call you just after immediately. In fact, we also at our end started getting calls saying that, hey, why is my score not reflecting? And that would be in the middle of the day, and we would tell them that, hey, the score is going to get uploaded only in the night, so don't worry, it will reflect. We're saying, no, I need my scores up because I'm going to come on the first, and we started getting those experiences. There's another area that I want to talk about. Is also one of the reasons why there was huge engagement and there was a lot of fun was about the way the entire leadership team came together in terms of appreciating, in terms of observing what's happening. They didn't just release gamification into the space and say that, hey, this is a magic wand and things going to work. But in fact, they actually got involved. Through your I think Facebook page, through your Facebook page, how the entire leadership was there, interacting, talking, etc. What was the driver behind that? Because that again was a very unique thing that we saw.
I think you have pressed the right button. Without management support, without support from the foundation level to play, and the management support to enable us to play, inspire us to play, such kind of stuff is not possible. I think the management, everybody was learning in that phase. If you look at, everybody was learning so what's happening. But as we were learning, and we could see that the people who were having some doubts all fell in line. Everybody started appreciating, and it was not only from the senior management or the next level, everyone. I remember I got calls from other business units as well. What is it that going on? And why don't you, sir, do it for us, right? For other business units. Obviously, it was an experimentation time for us. We did it for one business, we could do it others as well. But, we took that chunk because we thought that, we can execute this much. So that's why we took that chunk. But later on also, in fact, I became a TIPL man after the Transportation Infrastructure Premier League.
Yeah,
people used to, it's not IPL, the TIPL man. But another important thing is that I would say the communication strategy you talked about, another innovation I must talk about here, because that will be probably very, very good for all of us. That I remember that, entire Times of India, the page, we get around 200 Times of India newspaper, physical newspaper in the office, and the other offices as well. So we designed a complete one page, exactly the same size, where we talked about, I still have it actually. We talked about TIPL. We took the leaders, what they talk about business as well as TIPL, and then we had the experience from outside. We put a complete supplement, one pager on both sides, one paper and both pages. And we put that at the front. My entire team across the country, across the offices, they actually stapled it in the morning. We printed it one night before. We stapled it in all offices. And in the morning, everybody got that supplement. And, I remember that I got a call from one of the bosses, and the chief actually said, "What is it that you were spending so much of money on this advert?" And I said, "It costed me zero. It costed our intent, it costed our innovation, it costed quite a bit of sweat, because our team, which are very young and very creative, they actually created a very Times of India like page on computer, and we attached it. As an amazing experience, those were."
I remember that one because I don't think you told us about it. And the day you actually rolled it out in the offices, we were also coming into the office that day for a meeting, and we walked in and we saw that Times of India newspaper, and we didn't know what was going on. I was saying, "Ye kya ho gaya? What is this? How did this happen?" Right. There's another incident that I want to talk about, which was actually, if you remember, was a penny drop moment for us. When we again got back to the war room, that was that moment. That was that particular moment when we suddenly realized that another area of the business was starting to show great improvements. How the productivity spiked up, which we had not initially factored for as a KPI per se, but the outcome. And it's something that we, if you remember, we got back into the war room because it was a latent productivity that we didn't realize that existed.
So this is very important, which is basically finally what we wanted is the business outcome, better outcome with the help of digital, right? Better outcome with the help of not only digital, better adoption, better skill sets of the individuals, people. They also will be, upskilled, right? Their innovation index, their acceptance to new technology will be increased. So all these are underlying stuff, but that obviously our final outcome, the measurement, supposedly the business outcome. So did it give me a progress X percentage extra? Did it do a better cash flow for me? Did it do a better safety measure for us, right? And all these measurements were certainly improved. I can't talk about the numbers, and these numbers were actually proven. These numbers were actually presented, barring one particular KPI. Whatever the KPIs were there with us, all KPIs improved more than the target that we took before, right? And the KPI which took hit, there was a reason, there's an environmental reason, number 2. Number 3 is where I think the most we got is an employee engagement. The employee engagement score, the way we did before that, I mean, just one of the ways I can talk about is our workplace. Facebook at Workplace used to be obviously internal social media, right? People were not very frequent in terms of putting their comments, etc., or comment on the comment, right, or the likes or the views, etc. This program, this initiative, it increased 8,000 percentage point of engagement. 8,000 in our metrics, 8,000 percentage points. Every photograph, every clip that we put, it had possibly more than 200% more than what we targeted. Some of the clips were viewed or liked more than some of the senior most folks in this company used to get. So much of interest we generated, right? Which is basically, as we call it, employee engagement. So employee engagement went phenomenal at that point in time. So apart from hard business result, to the software side of employee engagement, they actually got married to each other and through this initiative, and which is basically the ultimate win of this gamification initiative.
That particular project and the wins that we saw out of that project kind of gave us a further confidence that gamification is something that we can go beyond the most conventional businesses that we normally think about. It actually gave us a confidence. After that, we implemented gamification in a very in an engineering organization, typically an engineering organization, and we saw great success. And the confidence that we got to actually take gamification to an engineering organization, a core engineering organization, came from the project that we did with you. So very interesting if you think about it. When we did that particular project, right from launch, from conceptualization till the point we closed it and we saw the outcomes, the structure that we followed, every single step was thought through, every single step was planned. We were very clear about what we were looking at doing, and I think in my opinion that was possibly one of my best projects.
So if I ask you another question, turning the table, so what are the top 2 learnings from us when we did that you'd like to take it forward to other companies?
I think the first and foremost learning that we had was that we initially came in with a bias thinking that conventional brick and mortar company may not adopt gamification because it's a more new age concept. So that was wrong. That was the first and foremost learning. I think the second learning, and I think it's a very important learning that I also talk about to every client of mine, is the entire, once you decided to go for it, once you guys took a decision that, like you said, for a period of almost 45 days, there was no news from you. I also didn't call, you didn't come back. But once you decided to go for it, the entire force of the organization was behind it. When I say that no project can be successful, excuse me, unless or until it has the sponsorship from the top, and right from the top. And we are talking about behavioral change. If behavioral change has to happen at the bottom, it must be sponsored from the top, because what's the point in expecting people down the line to change their behaviors but not get supported by people at the top? Every single one of you from top down was completely involved. You challenged us, you pushed our boundaries, and your involvement was crazy. It was absolutely amazing.
Thank you. And what's the first forward for you in terms of taking the gamification journey for other corporates?
So we've actually come a long way from there. We now have our own platforms and products. We do consulting, and especially we have something called the gamification COE, in which we are working on amplification of business and individual outcomes across industries. We are working in the space of amplification of learning outcomes. We are actually bringing in gamification in the space of societal change, both in the education side as well as we are working on something like a metaverse, which is on the grounds of sustainable environment. So that's the other side of it. We've also built a lot of physical products in gamification. So we are actually able to see with every project as to how we are able to make an impact on in organizations and in people, and bring about those sustained behavioral changes using gamification. So that's our road forward, and that's where we want to be. As an organization, what we want to be is we want to be that niche organization, the go-to organization, when for clients and for other institutions and for corporates and for let's say governments, when they want to think about bringing about the concept of neuroscience of play and behavioral changes to bring about sustainable transformation. That's our space.
Great. I think I wish you all the best. I'm sure you will go a long way, and thank you very much.
Thanks a ton, Sudip. It was actually lovely catching up with you after a very long time, and I think we need to do this a little more often. Sometimes maybe offline.
Yeah, we will do. I'm sure that we'll come with new avatar. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Sure. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Right. To everybody else who's watching, thank you very much for listening in to us. I hope you've been able to take away something from here. Thanks a ton to the DLC team. What you guys are doing is absolutely amazing from your leadership transformation initiative. And if anybody needs any help, advice, insights on how you can think about bringing in the concept of neuroscience of play in your organization structure, and whether it's at an employee level or it's at a customer facing, we're doing a lot of work about bringing in neuroscience of play at the customer side to drive engagement, etc., and then of course revenues. So feel free, give me a call, give me a buzz, and we can speak.